Hello and welcome to KOABC. Let's get familiar with the block coding editor. Before we can do anything, we need to find the block code editor. So there's a few ways to navigate to it. If you can get to the coding page, you're able to find the different levels. Down here, beginner, intermediate, and advanced. You're also able to access the coding site by clicking on this icon in the header. And you're also able to access it through these drop-downs. These are the same options as these down here. So now, what editor do we want to work in? So all of them are a little bit different. The beginner one is for those with no coding experience. It's very streamlined as for how you can go about coding the Diana board. The intermediate is still very streamlined, but there's a lot more options and ways to get involved with things if you're interested in those additional features. The advanced is probably the most similar to coding in an Arduino environment, so this is for students that are already familiar with coding. So now that we know how to find the editors, let's just check it out and see what we're looking at. So first, let's take a look at how this block coder is laid out. At the top, we have this header. This is where we have some features like the undo redo, accessibility options, and how we'll interact with saving and loading files. On this section over here, this is where we have our block list area. All the blocks that you'll be using to create your block code are over here, and we can interact with those. And then the final area is this giant area in the center. This is the canvas. So this is where you can drag blocks onto. Everything on the canvas is what gets converted to a file that can be run on the Diana board. So how do we interact with the blocks? If you hover over them, it'll turn into a hand icon, and that means that you can pick it up. If you hover for a long enough time, if the block has a description, it'll say what that block does. So this block is the start of the program, and then there's a little hint to this is where global variables can be defined. To pick them up, you're just going to click and drag them over, and when you release, it'll be placed. It has to be placed on the canvas, so if you try placing it in the block list area or in the header, it'll turn red, and if you try and place it there, it won't let you do that, and it'll be deleted. There are different kind of blocks that can be interacted with in different ways, and you can tell that based on what the blocks have. So each block can either have a smooth top or an indent, or it can have a smooth bottom or a nub. This one has a smooth top and a nub, and so this is going to be the start of a section of code. All of the events and functions are starts of code sections. Another type of block is an interlocking block. And so this has an indent and a nub below it. This can be attached to the start, but it can also be attached to other linking blocks. And then the final kind of block is a input block. And so this one has a smooth top, it doesn't have an indent, and it has a smooth bottom, it doesn't have a nub. So it can't be interlocked with other blocks, but it can be used as an input variable if another block has an input field. So just like that. If an input block has no input, it'll be red until you fill it. So now that this has an input in it, it is no longer red. Let's look at another example. This is a square input field, and so if I wanted to put something in here that was an input block, I'm not able to. I'm only able to insert it into the rounded inputs. So what that means instead is that I have to type something in here. So let's make variable x equal 5, and then we can do, x plus 2 for an output. Another input type that we have is the drop-down. And so if nothing is selected, it's red, but you're able to go in and choose an option. So now this multicolor LED has been set to red. Another thing with inputs is that you can carry a block when it has a hand icon, but you can't drag it by the input field. So if I wanted to move this, I'd have to put my hand over the colorful part in order to move it out. You can't drag items from their input fields. Another thing to note is that if I wanted to print maybe gps.getCoordinates, I have to put the block in there. If I type in gps.getCoordinates, it's not going to work because it's not putting in whatever is equivalent to that, so you have to put in the block. Alright, let's see some other functionality that the block code editor has. If you right-click, you're able to see some options. So here we have the undo and redo, which you can also find up here. But if you can also see these other features that I can't do unless I click on a block specifically. So I've clicked on this block and it's going to get, when I do duplicate or delete, it's going to interact with all of the blocks that are linked below it. So I'm going to click on this print x+2 and I'm going to delete it, and we'll see that it deletes everything that's linked below it. I can undo that, but I can also, if I choose to duplicate it, it's going to duplicate everything that was below it. As for accessibility, if you can't click, drag, and release, you're able to change the setting to click to drag. And so what's happening is now I've clicked it, and now I can drag, and it won't be released until I click again. So this is helpful if you or your students are using a mouse pad to use the click to drag feature. We also have high contrast for better readability, bold text, a dyslexic font for students that might need it. Let me turn those off. There's also a setting, so as we talked about earlier, unfinished fields are turned red. If that bothers you, you can say white unfinished inputs. And then these two down here, it's going to show you more specifically where to place your mouse if you're having a hard time with placing items. So if I say show hover areas and I grab this block, it's going to show me all the places I can place it. And if I want to place it over here, I physically need to have my mouse over it, and then that'll be an acceptable area. And so if I want to move this block around, I can see where I physically need to have my mouse in order to have it be accepted. Another variation of this is show delete areas. If I carry this, it'll turn red and be deleted once my mouse crosses over that line. Let's turn those off. And then here is our file save loader. You can enter the name of the .eno file, which is compatible with the Diana board, and download it. So let's just do tutorial, download it. Awesome. And now if I were to reload the page, all my progress is gone, but I can upload my tutorial file, and here's all my progress. Another thing to mention is that there are filters for the block area. If I'm trying to find something for the GPS, I can simply choose the GPS, and this is everything that's related to that. But if I'm done with filtering out items, I can choose all types, and now I can go back to scrolling between all my options. Another thing that we have is the ability to resize this section of the canvas. It can't get bigger than this, but if you need more space to do more things, you can resize things. And finally, we have the documentation page. So if we go back to that code page that we were on, down at the very bottom underneath the different types of editors, we have documentation. This page is just giving more explanations about how the different items are going to be used. So we used print during that, and what happens is whatever you input into the print block will be written to the serial monitor without starting a new line. in order to see that, and it gives you a little explanation of how to find the serial monitor within your Arduino IDE. So this can be useful for getting started or trying to have a little more guidance with where you're going. Well, that was the overview of the KOABC block code editor. I hope that was helpful.